Well, welcome back to this edition of This Is My Brave, the cast interviews. We are taking some time to talk to cast members from this 2020 season, which we're calling This Is My Brave Stories from Home. And we have with us today Ashli Timmons, who is in the Hampton Roads cast. Ashli, welcome. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hi, I'm Ashley. I'm 19 years old and I'm going to be moving to Richmond soon to go to school at VCU. It'll be my first year and I'll be studying psychology and hopes to become a child counselor.
Cool. That's really exciting. So how did you become acquainted with This Is My Brave?
I actually saw an ad on, I think Instagram it was, for your Hampton Roads show. And I had just written my college admissions essay on my mental health story. So I figured that would be like a good way to share it since it was fresh in my mind.
Cool. So you didn't know, everybody seems to have known Lauren before they
No,
came out for the show. Well, that's great. So that was really brave of you to step forward and do that. So do you mind telling us the condition that your piece will address?
Yeah, so my senior year, I struggled a lot with depression and anxiety, and that'll be based what my piece is around, but it's also on my hospitalization and going through all of that as well.
Okay. And what kind of piece is it that you're going to be performing?
It'll be like an essay.
Okay. And so tell me about what it was like to meet the cast. I mean, tell me about the cast of, because you guys had a cast party, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
I
so
did
tell me
know
about
that. It was nice to like hear everybody's different perspective on like different things because we all struggle with similar things to like in ourselves, but like everybody's perspective on it is just so different and like so eye-opening. And they gave me actually a lot of tips like for me to use myself.
That's cool. Had you come from a place where you had felt comfortable talking openly about what you had dealt with in your mental health?
Yes, I was in a leadership class that time also, and at the end of the year, we all did like a thing on vulnerability, and I chose to share my story that time. So I had done it a few times before I did audition.
What was the reaction of your classmates when you shared that?
A lot of them had known just because I was personally friends with a lot of them, and my teacher knew. And it was honestly really nerve-wracking. Like I cried in the middle of it, but I just felt like a lot of people my age go through that kind of thing, and a lot of us do feel alone, and nobody really talks about it at our age. So I wanted to be kind of that person that helps other people like share their stories. So I did have quite a few come up to me afterwards and say they've been doing the same thing.
Wow, that's great. I mean, you were like the first person, like blazing a trail. Good for you.
Yeah.
So then, of course, everything got waylaid in April, late March, when we had to shut down because of COVID-19. So what was that like when that decision came about in your life? I mean, not just on the front of This Is My Brave, but at home and work, whatever you were doing, that all changed dramatically, I guess. Tell me about that experience.
Well, I was working like full time, like Monday through Friday, and that just all kind of stopped. I'm a very structured person. Like I like to know what I'm going to do each day. And it was honestly a big adjustment for me and like my family because my mom works, she doesn't work, so she's always home and my grandparents live with us. So like it was way different being around like my whole family all the time. But we helped each other out. We like got through it. I picked up some hobbies. I started doing art and like stuff like that.
That's nice. So has, I mean, what if, aside from art, I guess has that been what's kept you going and kept you sane and healthy?
Yeah, it definitely has. I do a lot. Like I paint mostly, and my mom and grandpa actually got into like stained glass before this
Yeah.
quarantine. And so I started doing it with them before that. And since we were already there before like COVID had hit, they let us keep going throughout quarantine. So we still got to get out of the house a couple of days a week.
Wow, that's cool. So it sounds like you've had a lot of bonus family time.
Yeah, a
A
lot.
lot of people, it's interesting because a lot of people have had to be separated from their grandparents because, nobody wants to take any of the germs to them so that they've had to just wave through the window or, have just little drop-off visits. So what a nice treat for you that you guys got to stay with your grandparents. That must have been really helpful to them too.
Yeah, it was. They moved in with us, I think, last year, so they've been here for a while. They moved from California, so it's also a huge adjustment for them.
Yeah. Wow. Really cool. So and obviously I think everybody realizes that we're not going to be performing our pieces on stage. We are doing stories from home, which means that we'll be presenting pieces that you've recorded, that all your castmates have recorded. But when your piece is shared, what do you hope for somebody in the audience? What do you hope the takeaway is for others?
Definitely just for people my age and high school age and younger than that, know that people like them are struggling as well. It's not something they should feel like they have to hide or something that they have to like be ashamed of, because it is part of who you are. Like I touch on that in my story, like it makes me who I am today and I wouldn't trade it for the world. And I just want other people to be comfortable enough to like reach out for help if they need it, because that was something I really struggled with. And I just want people, young people especially, because it does start young, and I just want them to know that everyone else goes through it too. Like they're not alone.
Does your piece address like you getting to that point where you asked for help?
Yeah, it's not directly me asking, but it does go through the whole how that
Okay.
happened. Yes.
I was going to ask you, but I did that earlier to a cast member. I nearly gave away her whole story. So, because I am curious to know, and we've done focus groups with teens, and they tell us that they want, they get maybe education about mental health in school, but they've said that they want to hear from other teens who've gone through it, and they specifically want to know, like, how did you ask for help? And when you went to get help, what was that like? So it sounds like your piece is going to address that.
Yeah, I will. It's in the very beginning, but it's a big part of it, so I don't want to give it the whole thing away.
Yeah. So that I think is a great segue to just reminding folks that we will be presenting the Hampton Roads show of This Is My Brave on October 25th. And it will feature Ashli and a variety of other people. And I think I'm excited to tune in and hear your story and hear the poetry of your castmates and the humor. I understand there's going to be comedy. And so I just really think you have a phenomenal cast. And so I just invite all of you to tune in and join us on Facebook Live or YouTube Live. And if you need to know more information about the show, you can find it at thisismybrave.org. And so Ashli, thank you so much for joining us and telling us a little bit more about yourself. We wish you all the best as you head off to college. And I can't wait to hear more of your story. Thanks for coming.